Can you hear me?
Yep. Back
Are,
on American soil. It's the grit, only a few days late.
are you
I think
tan, rested, and ready?
not tanned. No, none. None of
Not
the above.
you're exhausted. You're pale, exhausted, and unprepared.
Barrel or nah, staying pale, not getting a suntan.
No barrel.
Doesn't look good. I know this much, but I also want to protect my skin.
Uh, don't you listen to Laird Hamilton at all?
What does Laird say? No,
No
first of all,
sunscreen.
no, I don't listen to Laird Hamilton.
No sunscreen. Sunscreen's bad.
Okay, so we'll do a deep dive. April 8th, the grit. We were supposed to be here on Friday. I was in El Salvador and we tried to do it, but the internet was spotty, which was weird because I did one a couple days prior and it was perfectly fine. So we
It's
just
because
got,
the WSL was running that day, sucking up the entire country's bandwidth because
okay.
everybody was so interested in watching the El Salvador Pro.
Well, whether or not they had any viewers, they were still sucking up all the bandwidth. But here we are to make good on our promise to do one a week. We're doing two this week to make up for the one last week. So here we are. I don't even know what episode it is anymore.
That's a lot of episodes.
Let me see.
Three,
300 and guess
three,
what it is.
314.
Okay, let's see. 314 it is.
Boom.
Look at you keeping track of things.
I remember looking at last episode and seeing that it was 313 and thinking, well, look at that. Three and a
Yeah.
one and a three.
Okay, so Laird Hamilton and Kelly Slater both
Yes.
have for decades
Disavowed.
disavowed sunblock. So I've never looked into it and I never took them very seriously because they are two people shouting into a cacophony of noise. But now Kelly Slater is pumping hard Freaks of Nature sunscreen. So apparently he's seen the error of his ways or he's trying to line his pockets.
I think what we have here, I don't know Freaks of Nature. I mean, I know of it, but I've never tried it. But I think that's like a mineral based one, right? I think specifically what Laird and Kelly are anti is the whatever chemical sunscreen, right? Which I don't know. Like, let's just throw out copper tone or whatever as an example, or banana boat, right? Like using a chemical barrier to block the sun ain't good for you.
That's not what they were saying because each sunblock brand has a mineral version. You can go there and buy the regular version or you could buy the mineral version. And what Kelly had been saying, I even have his tweet that somebody posted just to kind of highlight his hypocrisy. Of course, he posted this in 2011, so it was a long time ago, but he said, good info on sunscreens. I almost never use sunscreen, and this backs up my theory. And then he linked to an article on naturalnews.com. But he says explicitly, I
I
almost
rarely,
never use sunscreen. He doesn't say, I only use mineral sunscreen.
I hear you. That's big hypocrisy. I don't think Laird's not a hypocrite. Laird doesn't have Laird sunscreen out there. Laird is more on the record, I feel, anti-sunscreen. But if I recall, and maybe my memory is failing a little bit, but I recall Laird saying that if you need sunscreen, do a little bit of mineral on your nose or whatever, but best not to at all.
Yeah. Well, the doctors specifically do say mineral only.
Yeah.
Um, and it's also better for the environment, reef safe and all that sort of stuff.
So
But
did you use mineral though?
yeah. I used mineral the entire time I was there. Um, and it came home as white as I was when I left. And I feel good about that.
Really? It
Yeah.
didn't frustrate you that you came home looking like you had gone to vacation in a cubicle?
I would love to get a tan. I think I would look better with a tan. Um, but my vanity isn't more important to me than my livelihood, my life itself.
Do you think you're going to get cancer though from getting a little extra sun? I feel like again with my theories with all things, inoculation. You inoculate yourself against that cancer and then you go get a little bit cut out.
I've gotten stuff cut out and I have a family history of things getting cut out and the science is in. Like that's where I really want to hear from Laird or Kelly. The science is in that UV exposure is the direct cause of skin cancer cells, or it amplifies rapidly grows skin cancer cells. Skin cancer will kill you, But the prevention against it is there are steps you could take to prevent against it, and early detection. There's also ways to treat it with early detection. So it's like just avoid doing it and then get yourself checked and then get it taken care of early.
Laird says you don't put sunscreen on a plant.
That's Gary. That's Laird's argument, and
I
we're
think
not
it's
plants.
I think it's one of his arguments is that the sun provides nutrients and the sun is a life force. So while you're out there trying to block that life force.
That's a pretty elementary understanding of things. I mean, we're much more complex and different than plants.
And I think I mean his goes far deeper than that. I should really get back into it with him. But yeah, I'm not a big sunscreen user myself, so I felt Laird had a compelling argument, stuff that felt common sense to me. I thought myself being terrified of this thing and blocking it at every chance. And I get if you're out in the sun a ton, protection, right? Some kind of protection. Uh, Whether it be, a large brimmed hat or a button-up shirt or whatever. I get all that. And then also I get that if you're in the scorching, blazing sun, was it hot down there?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Like hot, hot.
tropics, it's equatorial.
Yeah, where I covering the nose and whatnot. But I also, the point of terror that we've reached as a society as it relates to the sun is something that I'm like, well, go get a, like when I go and see kids at the park slathered head to toe in sunscreen with the hat on, with a water shirt on, where I'm just thinking, how is this kid? This kid is going to like turn into smoke if he ever touches, he's going to be like a vampire if the sun ever touches his skin. Like,
Yeah.
how are you building? How do you not like, I get not like cooking your kid outside, but I also think let the kid get some sun, man.
Yeah. Uh, I agree with the theory, but I also agree with protection. I think that enough science is in and it's easy enough to implement or the solution. Like I'm not doing what you're talking about, and I'm also not sliding around on my surfboard because I've got too much oily sunscreen on. It's like putting the mineral sunscreen matte finish on my face in the morning is a pretty easy thing to do. And then I come home and I don't have to stress about it. And I also don't burn. Like that's the other thing is I don't understand how Laird and Kelly can go spend hours in the sun and not burn.
You teach your skin. I don't burn. I will be outside in scorching. I'm the only I will burn. I will burn like a full day on a sailboat or something like that. I had a went up to Baldy. We talked about that. Didn't put sunscreen on that day, and it was a blazing, sun bouncing off the snow back up into your face day. Got a little red that evening, but was right as rain the next morning. I think you train your skin not to burn if you're just always out there cooking it.
All right. Well, listeners, we will remain divided. You guys decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
You make the decision that's best for you and the amount of melanin in your skin that it already has. You want to see how delirious I am?
Yeah.
So I got in at about midnight last night. I think I got in bed by about 1. I was
That's a
looking
pretty good that's a pretty good turnaround though.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking at this sweater that I'm wearing right now, and I'm like, where's the logo? Right here. There's usually a logo right here. And it turns out it's on my back. There it is.
Boom.
I accidentally put this on backwards,
I
apparently.
I thought you were gonna go inside out and backwards. That would be a true crisscross, gonna make you jump moment.
Yep. It kind of looks good backwards. I kind of
It
like it.
does. It looks like a
Yeah.
tie almost.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? It kind of has a Zelensky vibe, to be quite frank, backwards. It has
Mm,
a little Zelensky in the White House.
I can admire him.
Yeah.
So regarding now, let's do a little side note on Kelly. Preaching for decades
Yeah.
not to wear sunblock. I mean, I've got the tweet to prove it, but I remember this as an ongoing thing that he would champion. And then now in the last 2 years, he's all pro sunblock use because he's got a product that he's marketing. So is this an actual change of heart, which is totally like you should all continually critical think throughout your life and update your opinions? Or is it a money grab and he's completely disingenuous?
I've got 5 words for you. Gerry Lopez, soft, topped. I guess there's a hyphen in there. Surfboards. That I feel that money grab, right? It is a straight up, and you will try, Kelly will try, Gerry will try, anybody who makes a uh egregious money grab will try to justify it publicly to their base, right? Where would you like Kelly more if Kelly said, look, this opportunity came up and I couldn't say no. Now I'm spruiking sunscreen. I know that I talked anti-sunscreen. I think he does go into it. I recall in the Freaks of Nature, he'll talk about the mineral and blah, 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 blah. But you're exactly right. He wasn't specifying back in the day. He was just no sunscreen.
Exactly. Money. So it's
So
just money grab. That's all.
it's a money grab. It's a
Yeah,
money
yeah.
grab, and he will say justify it probably. I would imagine. I'm not Kelly Slater, but I would imagine he justifies it by saying this product is better than other products on the market. This product is better than the chemical one. And so if you're going to use sunscreen, I would rather it's Kelly is your mom saying if you're going to drink, I'd rather you drink at home than out there with who knows what's going on. So Kelly's like, if you're going to use sunscreen, I've got the one for you.
Yeah.
Kelly should have almost sold it as the most interesting man in the world, kind of. Like, I don't always use sunscreen, slash, I never use sunscreen, but when I do,
That's true. There was an angle to play there. You
yeah,
missed it.
yep.
Well, a couple of follow-up notes on El Salvador as I unwind a mere 12 hours in. DJ Seaweed came on the trip and he was
I saw,
virtually a celebrity, dude.
I saw DJ Seaweed in the clips. Were people coming and asking DJ Seaweed to compose them their own songs as well?
You don't have to ask. He's
You
like a
just
wind-up doll. Um, and it's something to behold.
yeah.
I've never been around anybody like him. Um, he doesn't quit and it's all genius.
He's
It's remarkable.
he is the Eminem of white people.
Very good. Um, it was like he finishes one thing, like did you see that Instagram clip I posted of him singing
Tom?
if I could
Yeah,
turn like
turn like
Tom?
Tom. Yep. If I could find a wave. Yep.
Yeah, I do cutbacks, laybacks, get shacked at J Bay. Like he just comes up with that off the cuff. And then as soon as he's done, he's like, and you're laughing at that joke still. He's already on to some other bit that like you haven't even recovered yet. And he's already doing something else. And I feel like because of that, like a lot of the bits kind of go under fall on deaf ears. For example, in that exact sitting, we're sitting there at the restaurant. It looks straight out at the point. So you're watching everybody surf while anytime you're sitting there. And he had binoculars. So like he had the binoculars, he kept looking up and watching waves. And at some point, he holds them up and we're all watching the waves. And I just glance over and realize instead of grabbing the binoculars, he had grabbed two dinner rolls and was staring into the dinner rolls. But he didn't say, look at me,
Yeah, he's just being a funny guy, all for his own entertainment.
just doing it. And like I
Yeah.
happen to notice it. So then I laugh about it, but he's doing stuff like that just all the time. It's insane.
Andy Kaufman-esque is DJ
Yes.
Seaweed.
Yes. And I don't know where DJ Seaweed begins and Mitch Robinson ends.
Ends. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the whole, ain't that the whole mystery?
Yeah.
With Deej there, celebrity Deej, and everyone was, I mean, I'm sure did you do a full debrief of the show on Spit or of the trip?
Not, no, not yet.
Was everybody impressed with how each other surfed? What is the that kind of vibe?
It's not really like it's never even come up to be honest. Everybody's at different.
Nobody sniggers and says, "Oh, I thought this person." I would have thought he ripped, but yeah, I guess he doesn't. None of that.
No,
No
none,
little snarky back talk.
no, none at all. It is very everybody feels bonded as a group. Like, first of all, you're all strangers. And I guess first of all, is there's no way for me to vet who's who on a trip like this. There's no like questionnaire that you can give everybody and be like, do you surf to a certain ability level? Because everybody overestimates their own ability level first. So people are coming in from all over the world and on different flights. And so we all landed in El Salvador, and that's really where you meet up. Everybody meets up for the first time. And then you have a 3 hour drive to get to the resort. So there's a lot of bonding that happens just by the sheer fact that you're all there together and then you're doing this 3 hour drive together. But it's, you love each other. There's no like competition or trying to snicker at somebody because they're not doing something as good as somebody else. Um, and the great thing is about this location is there's a beach break right out front that is very user friendly. So it'd be one thing if we were taking everybody to like a high performance wave that was on a dangerous reef and they could get hurt, we would probably have to figure out some sort of a vetting process or at least give full disclosure of what they were in for. But in this environment, we got the beach break right out front, and then there's the point break right at the end of the bay, which is a definitely like an intermediate wave that you can get, you could do great surfing on, but it's not, you could also sit on the shoulder of it if you're not up for the challenge. And so that's what some people do. Some people, I think one of the surfers had only been surfing for 4 years. So she was still kind of feeling that out at the point. And then there was another guy who was from Texas and he'd been surfing for about 10 years. So he started out at the beginning of the week kind of on the shoulder, but by the final day, he was actually taking off on head high waves out there. So we can kind of track the progression of it. But everybody was cheering for him when he finally got those waves. Like, not while he was catching them, like, yes, go, go, go. And then once he's paddling back out, the whole lineup's clapping for him. So it's
That's
it's
awesome.
very communal. Yeah.
That wave, the point looked so much fun. It looked like an ideal intermediate wave.
It is an intermediate wave. Yeah, I think on its days it gets uh advanced.
Yeah.
And there was one day that probably had kind of twice as much of the energy as it was kind of head high every day, and then one day had twice as much energy, and you feel the difference. It's
Yeah.
like the water's moving so much faster.
Yeah.
And to catch the wave, you got to be going that much faster and committed and all that sort of things. And it really does separate the classes, like, and even just getting in position to get the wave, it separates the classes. So um, you can bite off as much as you want ultimately on that trip.
Moving water, like when I feel that's every surfer probably knows this, but maybe some haven't put it together. But obviously, to make bigger waves, there's energy in the ocean. And when the ocean starts moving and you're fighting the movement, I think that's really what separates. It's not like a static, oh, the wave is head high today and same wave, it's just double overhead tomorrow. It's not that at all. When it's double overhead, it's always the energy that always surprises me of the ocean. Big surf, like sucking and pulling and
Yeah.
yeah, pushing
And
and all of it.
and on that day, the swell's filling in, so the current's like sucking up the point. So everybody who is out there feeling comfortable on the last 5 days, thinking they could sit in a certain position, it's like, nope, they're getting
Yeah.
sucked up the point. And I'm like, all right, I'm realizing what's happening, so I'm going to maintain my position. But then the wave comes and or a set comes and it's wide, and now you're having to duck dive. You have to paddle extra because of all the reasons you said. Then you have to duck dive extra. And if you get detonated, it's twice as, much energy that it's sucking out of you. So everything just gets amplified. And that's where you really start to see that separation.
Did Scott Bass rip the bag out of it?
He does. Yeah, he definitely does. He's got um, a program that he's on. Like he sits so far up the point. Like you hear stories about Tom Curran paddling way past everybody and then the magic wave shows up for him. The magic wave doesn't necessarily show up for Scott, but he's just on his own program, probably largely to get away from the crowd. But he sits so much farther up the point than anybody else. And my experience with it was he like because you wonder, should I go follow him or do I deviate from my game plan? And I never deviated from mine because my experience was he would get 5 waves where it's like doesn't quite connect through all the way to the point. So he'd get up and do one or two wiggles, and then it would close out on the section where everybody else was sitting, and then they would have priority and go. But then one wave out of every 5, he would find one that
Connect it.
connected all the way through. But I wasn't enticed to follow him because even on that one, it wasn't better than the ones that I was connecting from where I was sitting. So I'm just kind of like, let
Yeah.
him stick to his plan. I'm not going to try to convince him to come sit by me. And then I hope he doesn't notice what I'm doing and realize that my spot's actually pretty good too. And he'll stick to his plan.
Did anyone, any groundswell amongst the crew, whisper a whisper campaign? Hey, why don't we go to Punta Roca? Hey guys, why don't we just go check out Punta Roca for the day?
Definitely not. Nobody
Nobody
cared.
wanted to go to Punta Roca to see Mitch Salazar and the rest of the World Surf League.
No, but disappointingly, on one of the lay days, they sent a helicopter down to our spot with WSL surfers.
Bastards.
I know.
What in the world?
I know.
Did you chase them
So
out of the water? Did everybody band together and say, no, go home, blow-ins?
no, but one of our guys was pretty pissed about it. He's
Should
like,
have been.
yeah, he's like, what the heck? Like we did a resort takeover. Like that's kind of the purpose of this, is it's all us here. And so they landed a helicopter on the beach, and
Who were the
it was
surfers?
it was Liam O'Brien, Matt McGillivray, and Edgard Grogia.
Well, look at, didn't all of them get bonked in the elimination round? That's what they
I,
get.
except Matt McGillivray did
Oh, yeah.
not.
That's okay.
So what was crazy though is I was at the point and I was kind of done with the session, but I saw that helicopter landing. The other thing, Scott was not surfing. He was surfing half the time and foiling half the time at the beach break. And this particular day, he was foiling at the beach break. So I was at the point and I saw that helicopter land and I'm like, this could be like a medevac situation
Mm.
because it's
You thought
so unusual,
you thought
like,
Scott sawed somebody in half with his foil.
or himself, maybe he fell off and it hit him in the head or something. Because then it was far enough away to where like you could see it's a helicopter, but you could just see little figures crowding around. I couldn't see if there was a stretcher or what. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And it takes like 10 minutes to paddle in. And for 10 minutes, I was just stressing, like, oh
Yeah.
God,
Who is
what's
it?
gonna happen? Is somebody dead? Like, how does this play out from here?
Were you also kind of thankful that it wasn't you? Were you like, this could be a real bummer, but whew, it's not me?
Well, I mean, I didn't think that, but definitely I would think that. Yeah. I would definitely prefer it not to be me. But yeah, just wondering like how does this play out? Like if this is somebody in our group, what are these calls that we now have to make to tell the
Oh,
loved
yeah.
ones? I couldn't even wrap my head around it. I was just frantic to get in. And then thankfully I got in and realized that's not at all what it was.
It was
The
just the bad news of LOB.
Exactly. And then I was like, well, is it a Vissla trip? Because Liam O'Brien and Matt McGillivray are Vissla guys. And our local handlers said no, they did this last year, and the government actually allows them use of the helicopter just because it's good for tourism. Like,
Yeah.
and they have cameras crews with them, so they'll just document that they went and surfed somewhere local. And look at how many great waves there are everywhere in our country, basically.
Well, I hope they got some guff on the beach. I hope somebody at least said, beat it, Barnes.
They tried really hard. Well, the other thing is they came straight, so they landed on the sand, but then they walked straight up our stairs to use our pool and eat at our restaurant and get in the shade basically while they watched to pick the moment to go surf. Um, but they were going out of their way to be friendly to us, knowing
Okay.
that they were encroaching on our space. Like I was walking up the stairs and Liam was getting ready to go surf and he was like, "Hey man, how's it going? How many did you get?" or whatever, just being friendly basically.
Don't like it.
I know. No, I don't like it either. But it is what it is. Anyways, DJ Seaweed, a lot of people on the trip. Well, each time we revealed to somebody, that's DJ Seaweed, by the way, their eyes, every single one of
Yeah.
them, their eyes got wide and they were like, no way. Are you
Yeah.
serious? Are you serious right now? And so he would, again, unprompted, just freestyle new hits throughout the trip. So it was pretty incredible.
Good job, Deej. Way to hold her down.
I'm going to figure out a way to get him on retainer.
Yeah, good.
Get him on retainer and just go, hey, man, um, you do you.
Create.
Just create
Yeah.
and just hook us up whenever you got something new, but we're here for it. Pitch us new segments. He had such a great concept for Karen Howard being the greatest surf fan on the planet. I forget what he was calling the segment, not Karen's Corner, but it was basically a trivia game where we check in with Karen every other week and she would give us like her survival picks and stuff like that because she's actually paying close enough
Yeah.
attention to do this and she's probably better at it than we are. And he had a theme song that he sang for me about the segment and everything.
Love it. I love Karen's
So
Corner.
I know. Yeah, really good. So while we're on the subject of El Salvador, the one big conversation and article on Beach Grit was about Felipe's meltdown. Filipe, quote, the world's best surfer in the world in 2.5 feet and under waves. Filipe Toledo has launched an unprecedented attack on the WSL's judges after easily winning his opening round heat at the El Salvador Pro. Two-time world champ Filipe Toledo, whose highest heat score had the highest heat score of the round at 15.77, beating Idolo Ferreira and Griffin Colapinto in the first day honors, said, quote, with all my 3 waves, I thought I was over 8 points, Filipe said in his post-heat presser, especially on my last wave. The variety, the speed, the air in the middle, the blowtail at the end. So yeah, I don't know what else I have to do to get bigger scores. I wish the judges could go out there and do the same thing. End quote.
Okay, getting into this.
Yeah.
So here we go. Filipe Toledo ain't nothing if he's not an annoying little twat. And he would have had everyone, I feel, with, okay, so like he was underscored that wave.
Yes, agreed.
He was underscored that wave. That is without I think that is indisputable. So we can leave that aside, right? Going to complain about the score being underscored, I also get that, right? I'm giving him that. That's how you make sure that you get the score in the future. Look at, NBA players complaining about fouls, knowing that they're going to get the next call or whatever. This tried and true in sport. Where he turns into a little dippy do is when he gets to the end and says, I wish they could do what I do. Like, fuck off, Filipe. Like, that's not what being a judge is. Like, that's not what being a critic is. That's not what any of this is. This is an archaic, idiotic idea of can't judge me if you can't do it the same as I do, right? Like, and it's so idiotic and dumb that I think it's a peep into his mind of an idiot dumb boy.
Well, you may be right, because I was having a hard time teasing apart why he's developed the reputation that he has. And it really does come down to that one sentence, I
It's
guess.
that last sentence and the unnecessary tack on, which shows that this is your actual worldview is
Yeah. That's it.
you can't judge me because you can't do what I do.
Yeah. Because I felt the same way as you, where I thought Felipe's right, and yet I don't agree with him. It's like
It's that last sentence. I would fully say like, oh, yeah, whatever. He's right. If he didn't, I wish they could go out and do what I do. Screw off.
It's also only going to create more judging problems for him in the future. It's like he's right that he's getting underscored, but because of your attitude and your victim mentality, now nobody likes you again. And so we're going to feel that way when you paddle out next time, and it's probably going to happen again. It's a self-perpetuating thing.
If I was a judge and I would have seen that, wave, and if I would have underscored it, I would have felt bad up until reading that last line. And then I would say, guess who's getting a little more underscored next time? I'm going to teach you a little lesson. How dare you say I can't do my job unless I surf as good as you?
Yeah. He's got himself in quite a predicament here.
He's such a piece of like I'm not going to say a piece of garbage at all. I wasn't even going to say that. I'm going to say as a personality, he's really wrecked. He has not read the room. He's uninteresting until he messes up, and then it's like a real combo, I feel, of ego, of privilege, of it's all this stew that is Filipe Toledo. That's it's victim, privileged, with enough talent, inability to look in the mirror. Like it's all these little parts of him that are just grating.
I think it's a reflection of, it's like a very focused version of what we're experiencing as a society on a much grander scale. And I've never had this thought or epiphany before. And unfortunately, people kind of think that there's like a Brazilian bias against him or something. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's the modern version of millennials being privileged and having more access and feeling victimized despite those things. That is what he's representing, I think, that is so repulsive to everybody else.
In a true inability to look in the mirror and say anything honest. And like to actually believe your own shtick.
because anybody I know who's actually worked with him and knows him personally says he's a great guy. Like he's
Yeah,
getting way too much flack for being such a nice, loving parent, loving husband, all this kind of stuff, family man. Um, and those things can all still be true. Like you can still be a good person on an individual level, but then you have all of this privilege and talent. The talent's undeniable. And then you're still feeling like a victim despite all of these things and the circumstance that you're in. And then vocalizing how you're being taken advantage of and that sort of thing just comes across as distasteful to all of us who don't have the bank account balance and the talent and even the loving family and stuff like that
all
he
of it.
has, you know?
Yeah,
It's like to still act mopey and whiny and use that whiny voice too when you're doing it is just like
hard to take. Hard to take.
it's like my 3-year-old when he's gotten everything that he wants on a given day and then he's upset that I accidentally, you know, uh moved his iPad from one position to another without getting his approval on it or something. It's like,
Yeah,
bro, okay, now we're going to start taking privileges away
yeah,
because you are not allowed to have that position.
yeah. You're not allowed to have that attitude with that position and with all of those benefits.
It's I think we got to the bottom of Felipe.
Yeah. So
He's
how do you?
representative of something that's happening societally that we all despise.
Yep, exactly. He is that.
So how's he going to get through that?
That's the problem.
How's he going to like, reset his PR campaign basically?
Nobody like he doesn't. He clearly doesn't listen to. He's what he has his papa there guarding him, right? So not only do you not have to be your own man, you got daddy taking the flack for you and then giving back, right? And so you just get to be there and have your tender feelings hurt. What he should do is just go out and be honest with people. He should go out and say, yeah, I'm scared of big waves and I'm working on it. He should go out with here and say, I feel like I get underscored a lot, but what are you going to do? All I'm going to do is keep on pushing, whatever. Just say honest things, not hurt tender things.
I remember long stretches where Kelly would get underscored. And, he could have quit the tour at those. That was at the time when he had 8, let's say, world titles, and he's getting underscored because we've seen him surfing for 20 years. It's kind of hard for him to reinvent the wheel. Uh, he could have quit at any of those times. No, he's still stuck around for another 10 years and got 3 more titles. You just keep showing up and doing it and don't whine.
Yeah. And if you don't want to, then yeah, like
Then don't.
take another mental health break.
Speaking of which, this is our opportunity to either um, make amends for past things that we said on this show or dig a deeper hole. I got a bunch of interesting comments about Tatiana Weston-Webb taking a year off. Um, we Tati never used the word depression when she was made that statement. And you and I don't believe, used the word depression even when we were talking about it. But I just want to acknowledge the distinction between taking a quote mental health break, which could be a generic coverall, or it could have nothing to do with depression at all, or people who have clinical depression. That's a very specific thing. But a number of people who have struggled with depression actually wrote in just to say that it's very obvious that you two have never experienced depression. It's very obvious just listening to us talk that we've never experienced something like that that debilitates you in that way. And it's something that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. So just an acknowledgement that nobody ever said depression. Tati herself didn't say it. But then somebody else, to do a total flip side of this or different take on it, somebody said, "Hey, David and Chaz, is it simply a coincidence that Tatiana is not in love with surfing when she hasn't won a heat this year and is facing the cut rather than contesting for the final 5?" So last year she was contesting for the final 5. This year she hasn't made I guess a heat. Um, and goes on to say, is it possible that the quote mental health break is simply being used as a free ticket for requalification when she knows she's probably not going to make the cut?
Boom,
It's
hammer.
he says it's pretty easy to be in love with pro surfing when it's working well for you. Not so much when you're losing, question mark, work.
Uh, Oh, maybe. Here's the thing about Tatiana Weston-Webb, though. And if I recall in our conversation, I wasn't being critical of her taking the year off, uh, like I was of Filipe Toledo taking the year off. Uh, I was thinking the World Surf League is doing something wrong. The fact that they're losing so many, there's a
Yeah, yeah,
problem
yeah.
in the product. I feel, and if I misspoke and put it on her, you do what you want for Tati. The fact that I think my point was the fact that surfing is something you want to get away from shows that there's a problem in the product.
Totally agree. Yeah, I feel that way too. Um, Moving on from Tati, the latest in the Lunada Bay Boys news. Notorious Lunada Bay Boys gang loses bamboo hangout once used to harass, quote, non-native surfers, end quote. What's the story here?
I mean, the Lunada Bay Boy story always tickles my funny bone. Anytime it comes up, anytime I see a headline, I gotta read and I gotta see what the latest. So the latest was legit. The two who sued the city, I do believe, Palos Verdes or the Palos Verdes estates. There's two people who sued them forever ago, I think 2018 or something. It finally wound through. I think the people sued because they were non-native surfers, quote, end quote, who got harassed. And there was nothing physical, there was nothing anything. There was some fear and scary times. Um, so they sue. Now Bay Boys have to be disbanded, and part of specifically in their lawsuit was to rip out the bamboo where the and so the whole thing is so comical to me. It's almost like a 1940s cartoon where you got like Brutus and other bad boys hanging out in bamboo, like whistling, catcalling people coming by. The entire story. I mean, the fact that Nicolas Cage is the surfer seems like it's going to do real well. Definitely has captured the imagination. I don't know how somebody doesn't do a dark comedy on the Bay Boys.
I mean, it's unfortunate how silly this has all become because on a cursory level, I like localism,
I do too. I like the idea of and I
but they
don't know
take
who
it.
the people who brought the lawsuit, but I bet they were full on kooks.
I know. Remember we were talking, it was years ago now, about the dude in Malibu, that realtor,
Oh yeah.
Andy
Yes.
so and so.
Yeah.
And the kind of point that I came to through enough discussion with that was like, enforcement is great. The problem is it ends up being the wrong person doing the enforcing, and then they ruin it for all enforcement moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
really what's happening here is these guys have gotten so impractical and silly. And now at the end of the day, it's grown men sitting in a fort throwing rocks.
I mean, it's crazy town. And even if that's not what it is, the fact that you allowed yourself to be painted that way, the fact that you had a clump of bamboo. My daughter just built a little fort in the bamboo in the back here. Uh, that's what the Bay Boys are doing, right? Or that's what the public perception of them is, where it becomes farcical, which I completely hear you. Love the idea of some kind of regulation is a necessary part of surfing that his pendulum has swung way the other way. We need it to swing back a little bit. Bay Boys ain't helping us.
It's if the reason why some amount of regulation is good is because you don't want it to then get regulated by an outside entity, which is now what's happening for the Bay Boys. If you let things just go completely run amok, then it'll be chaos in the lineup. Somebody's going to get injured. And then all of a sudden, the police are instituting leash laws and now no surfing between these hours of the day. And then if you know what I mean? Like, leave that out of it. Let's have a little bit of order in the lineup. We'll decide that guy's served here the longest and knows the most. He'll dictate the terms, you know? But it's these people, the interlopers, who think that they're that guy who jump in and they don't fully understand the rules and they go overboard with the
Or,
enforcement.
or the problem is you shouldn't love to be an enforcer. You should enforce because you have to, not because you want to. I feel the people who typically float to the top of the enforcement thing are the people who want to enforce.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you find yourself, you should never be sitting in a fort throwing rocks, right? You should be in the lineup surfing and or off the beach. If you're in the lineup surfing and you see some blowing come in, kooking it, paddle over and say your piece, right? But the people who make their life enforcement is those are not the people you want.
Definitely not. That goes hand in hand with the video that came out of some dude sounding another dude on the beach. Like the GoPro captured the footage, and he was knocking on the hard board, being like, "This thing's gonna hurt somebody." It looks like it's a paddle board or something. Get
Okay,
out of
so
here, you
but there's
kook.
context here. I've
Yeah,
I've got context for this whole one.
perfect.
Those were kayaks. Those were ocean kayaks, and I guess they had just had, and this was up in Santa Cruz, and they had just had like a kayak event. And so where it was like a kayak beach takeover, which was the couple days before. So this surfer is pissed that kayaks are back. Your day was over, man, and I don't want this thing in the lineup with a bunch of kids on soft tops. Presume I think it was at Pleasure Point. I can't remember where it was, but it was some soft, mushy wave, right? So I think the dude was actually trying to regulate, do not bring kayaks into a place where kids are on soft tops.
Got it. I'm glad you figured that out because, yeah, I think I even messaged you. We have totally jumped the shark if it's the dude on the soft top telling the dude on
Regulating.
the hardboard that the hardboard is too dangerous.
So I was going to go that angle, and then I thought, wait just a second. And so
Yeah.
then got into the comments, and it was explained what the situation was.
Don't you love the comments now? I mean, if I see something and I'm like, I'll be 30 seconds in and let's say the video's 3 minutes. And I'm like, I don't want to wait till the full 3 minutes to understand what's happening and still maybe not get the full understanding. Let me just pop open the comments. And sure enough, the top comment almost always explains it for you.
The fact that people are earnest and honest, and, or I don't know if they're honest, but are at least earnestly giving their time to explain at least one side of a situation. And then I feel you can sort, especially for the things that, go bigger, you can sort through the comments and you can find your own way through. Like if there's two opposing camps there,
Yeah.
you can kind of piece out together, okay, this is what I think actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, while we're on the topic of etiquette and what's appropriate, I've got to share some of the stories of surfing the point this past week in El Salvador because it really was crazy. Like, I do not understand for all the talking we've done over the years about etiquette and what's right to do, what's not to do.
And these are all podcast listeners, correct?
Well, okay, it's not only our group. Yes, these are all podcast listeners. There's other people who are surfing the point with us every day.
Okay.
There'd be about 20 people in the water, and I'd say maybe 8 of them were our group.
Okay.
So 12 others. But I could not believe the lack of etiquette in the variety of ways that it lacked. Um, one day a boat showed up from another local spot, Las Flores, which is a wave in a camp. And it was like these 3 dudes who were probably in their 50s, white haired dudes. And they paddle straight into priority position. So, first of all, they show up in a boat. Then they jump off the boat, paddle past all of us who are sitting there surfing it for an hour already, go sit straight into priority. The first set that comes, one of those guys burns the other one, like right on the takeoff. And so the guy who is in the original priority position goes over the falls as he's getting burned. The guy who did the burning, like, could barely get to his feet. So then he gets pitched. And it was just like, what are you guys doing? You
Yeah.
guys, you guys aren't even qualified to be at this spot. You need to be surfing the beach break at the level of surfing you are. And then secondly, you're going to paddle straight into the peak and do bro on bro crime. Like that, they lost the respect of everybody in the lineup. Like from that moment on, it was like, oh, free reign,
Dropping in.
free
Yeah.
reign, free reign. Don't care what wave you're paddling for. We're burning you from this point on.
Did they get burned?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
See, I mean,
Zero, zero respect.
that's the only way to re-regulate that. But I feel, and we talk about it too much, the freeway. I feel it's the exact same thing that's happening in the lineup is happening on the freeway. Everybody's forgotten the rules. Only people are thinking about is themselves. If I want to drive 60 in the fast lane, I'm driving 60 in the fast lane, your problem. If I want to XYZ, whatever it is, same with surfing. It's I want to do what I want to do. Zero even consideration. When you told me, or last week, I guess, when we talked about your brother not knowing that there's a rule to passing on the right, it's that idea. It's you should know the rules before you break them. I'm all about sometimes wife gets real mad at me, but in oftentimes with enough 60-mile-per-hour drivers in the fast lane, right lane turns into the fast lane, right?
Right.
Uh,
Exactly.
but I know the rule and I'm breaking it. Ballet teacher for daughter is always or she doesn't get busted as much anymore because she was trying to break rules before she knew it. And ballet instructor's like, ugh, you can break this once, not only once you know it, but once you rule at this thing, then have at it, right?
Yeah.
But with surfing, it's that people aren't even beginning to start to learn the rules. These guys had probably zero clue that, like, if you told them, then they would think it was gatekeeping. If you said, hey, this is not how you do things. You don't get off a boat and paddle to the point. You can get off a boat, sit on the shoulder, take some scraps, move over. By the time, hour, you can be at the point if you're good enough. Give you an hour. Uh, those guys would, who are you? Not you own El Salvador, man. Like, instead
Exactly.
of taking the criticism and realizing, oh, there is a order that also benefits me because if I was out on the point and a boat came up, then this would be good for me.
Well, the other thing is if you do burn them, then they're indignant. Then they're like, "What the hell are you doing? You're a kook." And it's like, "Bro, we're way past that point in the conversation. You're so clueless. You don't realize you actually engaged in this conversation unintentionally and dictated the terms for yourself. This is
Yeah.
happening to you for a reason, you know?"
But how do you, I
But
mean, here's the thing. It just sounds like old man yelling at clouds, though, wanting people to read the rule book, everybody. Like, get out your surfing rule book and learn it. But I don't know what else to do.
well, so here was my predicament was because I explained to Scott at some point the other so I'll get back to my predicament in a second. Let me give you a couple other examples. General lack of awareness and general lack of communicating in the lineup. So another thing that kept happening was five people would be paddling for a wave and all five of them miss it somehow.
Yeah.
And I'm the sixth in line, so I'm not even positioning because I'm like, oh, clearly somebody's going to grab that. And then it's like, sure enough, one, two, three, four. It's like they don't know how to position to get actually into the wave and get up or whatever. And I'm just like, what the hell are you guys doing? Or turn to me and say, go, and then
Yeah.
I will go. Like that, you're supposed to communicate. Or people who are like actually in position, actually got the momentum to catch the wave, and for whatever reason, pull back at the last second. And the only cut that I have, the only time I hit the bottom was that exact thing. And it was actually somebody on our trip who um, pulls back at the last second. And then but didn't communicate to me, didn't say, hey, go. He had the wave and just opted to pull back. So I don't know if he was scared because it was too big or it lurched or something. But now I am in the last second where I'm not even laying on my board anymore. And I have to I make the decision to go because the wave was going to go empty. And I had already seen 20 waves go unridden because of these things. So I was like, at the last second, I throw myself into it way too late, go over the falls, get dragged on the bottom, cut up my hands and my knee, and bruise my elbow. And I was like, I blame him.
Yeah.
It was like it was my bad decision for throwing myself at the last second, but I blame him because he clearly had that wave. And if he was not going to go, it's
Say
incumbent
go.
upon him to say go.
Yeah.
Because you know what the consequence of that is? A wave goes unridden.
Yeah.
You don't want that to happen. So just tell your fellow man to go. And by the way, you'll clear me out of the lineup once I go on that wave.
I mean,
So,
that's the truth. It's benefits following the rules benefits everyone.
so what I was going to say, the dilemma was I explained some of this to Scott at some point, and he's like, oh, I would have just started regulating. I would have been like, hey, you move down the point. Hey, you don't do that anymore. You need to communicate. He'd start going to boss people around. And I go, I didn't consider that, but I did have a strategy in its place. And that is, I'm going to bring my Southern California mentality back into this lineup, which is hyper aggression and push you out of position and spin and go at the last second. Like I'm going to tuck myself up next to you and just stare at you while I'm paddling into the shoulder to see if you're going to go. And if at any moment you balk, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And that's just what I started doing. And it's like, I don't want to be a dick. I want to give everybody their chance to get their wave, but you've proven by letting 5 set waves roll through, you don't have that privilege anymore. So here I come, you know?
I feel the true, I mean, that's the problem is we're talking about self-awareness now, but I feel the surfer who does pull back on a wave, unless he's a Felipe Toledo and has convinced himself in that moment, oh, I didn't go because whatever. If you allow yourself to say I didn't go because I was scared, uh, then you are deferential to people actually going in the lineup.
Exactly. So the biggest offense, maybe it was just after a week. Um, this dude who's total intermediate, low intermediate, which is the worst kind of dude because
He thinks he knows.
he thinks he knows and they can paddle and they can catch waves, but he thinks he's a good surfer. So I had a particular spot in the lineup that allowed me to get these wide ones because like most won't connect all the way through, but then on a good set, a one it goes wider than where everybody out positions one another and they kind of get pushed up the point. But the wide ones, they're now way too deep for, and the wide ones go all the way. And so that's kind of I'm just gonna pick those ones. And everybody mostly left me alone. But this dude who I had seen for a few days and I knew he was a low intermediate paddled or drifted towards me and then actually paddled and sat, I'm not kidding, 3 feet in front of me.
Oh,
Not 3 feet up the point. I mean, when I say 3 feet, I'm not kidding. It wasn't 5 feet. It wasn't 6 feet. That's like uncomfortably close. It was like our
right there.
boards are going to bump into one another.
Yeah.
That's how close and he sat right in front of me so that I couldn't even see out to sea. And I was like, oh, like, this is passive aggressive. It's almost aggressive aggressive. He's clearly being a dick for some reason. Did I burn him? Nope. I've been minding my own business. Did not do anything. He was that clueless
That
to
he
where
didn't
he
even
just
notice.
sat. And then, but I'm sitting there going, okay, so what's my move here? I'm like, well, I'm just going to take the inside. Like he's slowly kind of going to drift and I'll slowly just like move a little bit of water with my hand and I'll just get on that inside. And then when the wide one does come, I'll be on the inside and I'll push him that way. And that's exactly what ended up happening. Within 3 minutes, it played out exactly but because his back was to me, he didn't know what my positioning was going to be or what I was going to go next. But I'm just like, how clueless can you possibly be to not know that you're 3 feet? You paddled, there's nobody else around. You paddled straight over to me and sat 3 feet in front of me.
Everybody in their own world, thinking about themselves, what they want, and what they're going to do.
Yeah. I'm angry about it right now.
Shame. It's a
Yeah.
shame. I mean, I'm angry every day about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Completely. Well, bringing the Southern California mentality back into the lineup is exactly what you're talking about with driving in the slow lane, passing people now. You just
You,
have to. It's like
you
everybody else abandoned all the rules. So now I'm going to have to use their own rules to then beat them at the game.
exactly. You still know the rule book.
Yeah.
That's how you win.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay. I think I'm done venting.
Great.
Uh, Vayer, tools to live by, presented by Vayer watches. That's a good looking one. Did you get a new one?
This is the new one that I got last time. It is a good
Oh,
looking
okay.
one though.
Okay.
But how did your Veyer perform in the hot tropical heat?
Thing should be charged for like 2 years with the amount of sun that it got.
Did you put sunscreen on it?
No,
Thankfully.
no, but it protected this part of my wrist.
Look at that.
It's got a
Definitely no
nice,
cancer there.
nope, nice and white. Um, Vayer will save you 15% on Vayer watches by going to vayerwatches.com/surf splendor. And they provide the tools for us to live by. And so we're going to provide those for you. Somebody who would like to remain anonymous emailed last night and said, hey, here's a scenario. I am married to my wife. I have two sisters that are single. We're taking my parents out to dinner. Do we split the check 3 ways, being that my wife and I are one unit and then each sister is their own unit? Or do we split it 4 ways because we are 4 adults? So my wife and I would technically pay, for 1/4 each, and then my sister's 1/4 each. It's not an issue of money. I just want to know what's the most fair / what etiquette procedures are in place. Thanks, boys. Work and twerk. Keep anonymous.
Okay, anonymous. Thank you. This is important. This happens to all of us a couple times a week, probably. Well, maybe not that much, but all of us. The best play, and know this out the gate, know that the best thing to do is take the whole bill yourself or have somebody take the bill themselves. Splitting bills, I feel, is all out of the gate is tacky, right? If money is not an issue, truly, if money's not an issue, you look good by grabbing the whole thing, paying the whole bill, right? Do we agree?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So that's your A number one, right? If you're not doing that, you're wrong already. But of course, there's different times and places to be wrong, right? Like if you're out with a group of strangers, uh, then obviously bill splitting happens. But I'm going to say being fussy about splitting the bill is always annoying. Just let somebody split it. Don't have the split bill be any more conversation than people throwing cards down onto the thing and having the server come and say, how do you want this split? And you don't answer. Just keep your mouth shut, right? So
Yeah.
in this case, if you worry and want it to be all fair, let's say you're wrong out the gate, but you and wife should have both thrown down cards, I guess, in this scenario.
So I got a specific equation for you to apply here. And I agree with Chaz. Figure out the equation tomorrow morning. So one person throws out the credit card, covers the bill tonight, and then tomorrow we'll settle up, basically, if it's decided that we are going to settle up. And what you and your siblings decided was you're covering your mom and dad's portion. And so that's what gets split uh, between you. Like the way I would be like, my wife and I cover our stuff, you each cover your stuff, and then we split. I guess it would be three ways in that scenario. We're covering mom and dad's three ways.
But it gets so complicated and fussy, right? The whole point is not to have like a major mathathon at the end of dinner.
You're not. You're doing it tomorrow morning. If you decide that you are going to split it up, which you did agree to that, we're going to do the math tomorrow morning.
But
And
also, though, let's be honest, this is a 5-person dinner. Unless they went to Mar-a-Lago and also included in the dinner was a personal time with President Donald Trump. There's no way this dinner was more than there's no way it was more than $500.
doesn't matter. Dollar amount aside, because everybody's got a different budget.
I get it, but what I'm saying is the amount that you're going to spend on dinner is generally not worth being fussy. And so if the idea was split, I say everybody throw a card in, because saying when the waiter comes saying, we're going to be one check here and then these two, so split it 50 or 50% here and quarter here. That is like fussy and annoying. Everybody just throw a card in. And in this case, wife should have thrown a card in too.
I think one card sorted out tomorrow morning, and specifically, it does get split three ways in that scenario. Like, we're three siblings, we're taking our parents to dinner, we're splitting their dinners three ways. Mom and dad, we're covering three ways. But also, like I said, you're only splitting mom and dad's dinners up. So my wife and it's not like we're going to divide the entire check by three, but we're responsible for 50% of the check because it was my wife and I, and we had a bottle of wine. You guys didn't, all that. No. Tomorrow morning, when we do the calculus, you're only covering your own meals and then a third of mom and dad's meals.
Yeah, but look at the math there. Look at the math.
I know, but it's the next day. I mean, unless somebody's in a position to cover it all. If somebody's in a position, then take it.
I'm saying cover it all or just solve it right there. Don't care about who had wine, who didn't. Everybody throw a card in except for mom and dad. You had your wife there. She throws a card in too, or throw in two for the wife.
Well, we'll remain divided on this one then, I guess. I roll with a lot of friends. Whenever I'm at a social dinner like that, a lot of our friends are in a very similar financial situation as us. And so we generally just split it. Like, none of us are doing that much better than anybody else to where you can just cover it. And none of us are destitute enough to where we need to pencil it out. So it is just kind of like, here's four cards, split it four ways, whatever.
I mean, I feel that's the best way to do it. And that's true. I guess it depends on if somebody is truly destitute, though, then somebody should be picking up the tab for that person. But also, you're in the friend group situation where it's not incumbent upon somebody to pay. It's not a family situation or whatever. Just throw cards in the middle and nobody say, we're going to split because now you're just making a pain for the waiter, I feel.
Oh, waiters hate that.
Yeah. We're going to split this. Okay. So we want 40% on this card, but then 18%. And then this one's going to do the tip. And then just make it easy. Even split. Done, dusted. It's either even split or no split.
My wife did like a girls' night a couple of months ago, and the way that these things work is it starts out like, hey, the three of us should go do something. Oh, but we can't leave out Caroline. So, you know what, Carol, but if Caroline's coming, then you got to invite Becky. Well, then it turns into like 10 chicks, you know? And when it was just three of them, they wanted to do a certain, like a nice dinner and a nice whatever. Well, now when you have 10, like three or four of those chicks can't afford to do the nice version of what it was.
It's Olive Garden at that point. Once you have 10 people, you end up at Olive Garden.
That sometimes happens. But what ended up happening this time was they were also going to stay in a hotel for the night, like make a full 24-hour deal out of it. What they ended up happening was one of the initial three was like, I'll cover the costs, but you guys all owe me money. And now it's 2 months later, and a couple of them haven't come up with the money. And it's like,
Yeah.
where do we go from here? And
Yeah.
we're like,
Friendships destroyed over not paying for the breadsticks.
yeah, it's like it really does put. And she's like, I don't want to be like upset about it. And it's the $200 isn't going to make or break me, but I see this person now. You know, we go out to dinner and we see him out and about and stuff, and it's like, well, here they are spending money out tonight, but they still owe me $200 from 2 months ago. And if I ask for it, it makes me sound petty. So I just
Totally.
have to let it ride.
It's bad news. It is all bad news. Split at the time. That's what I'm saying. If you push off the split, you're opening the door for these kinds of weird things.
Yeah.
They
Well,
fester.
the follow up to that specific story is they're now planning another getaway, like a weekend away, and it's like we can't invite those couple of people to this new one. Like they iced themselves out, but they're still going to get pissed. There's still
You,
going to be some kickback. Like, why didn't we get invited?
you know who these people are? They are the people who anchored boat, paddled up to the point, and cooked it on the takeoff.
Completely agree.
Yep.
Completely agree. Crazy story, by the way, coming out of, I don't even know where I got this story. Actually, somebody sent it to me. Tom Carroll loses weight eating Chick-fil-A salad every day. Did you see
Wow.
this?
I did not. Where did this come from?
It was a Australian local news channel. Alarmed by his growing weight and the toll it was taking on his health, Tom Carroll lost 132 pounds in a unique way, eating a Chick-fil-A salad every day. He's been following the same routine for more than a year, always ordering the restaurant's spicy Southwest salad for lunch, his big meal of the day, then making a homemade version of it for dinner. Carroll, 32 years old, says he's not bored eating the same thing every day. A strategy dietitians say can have important advantages, noting that he really likes the taste. So, not our Tom Carroll, but a Tom Carroll.
Is this I mean, I wish it was our Tom Carroll. Just I was thinking, our Tom Carroll, how did he have 160 odd pounds or whatever to lose to begin with? And how is there
he
so many Chick-fil-A's in Australia? But
he didn't.
that aside, do you think that Chick-fil-A looks at this dude and says, you know what we've been waiting for? Our own Jared. Or do you think Jared screwed Jared for everyone?
I think Jared screwed Jared for everyone.
That they're going to think this guy has lost weight eating our food. You know what he might be? A pedophile.
You gotta really. There's no way to fully vet these guys anymore. You don't know what the skeletons in their closet are, and if
And
they're
or I mean, did we ever we've discussed Jared from Subway for those who don't know, the Subway spokesman who was it pedophilia or what was it? What did he get busted for?
yeah,
Underage.
child porn.
Yeah, okay. Uh was
I
it?
yeah, I mean he's doing a lot of jail time, so it's probably more than just porn. If you only had the child porn, it probably wouldn't be that long. He
But
had
I
to
think
act on it
but I see pictures of Jared in the yard, in the prison yard with his bros, like posing and stuff. Where I think if you're
Mm.
child porn, you're not really allowed to hang out. Though I don't know. It might have been like transporting underage girl across state lines, something like that.
That's
Hit up
sex
you hit
trafficking.
something like that, like not full on kitty, just underage or something. Not that we want to split hairs here, but
Okay. Um, is charged with child pornography distribution and repeatedly engaging in commercial sex acts with a minor.
There we go. So all bad stuff. So I don't know how the boys in the yard are letting Jared hang out.
Because he was a celebrity, maybe.
Maybe. But
Hmm.
yeah, which came first though? Jared's evil kink or his fame? Did fame as a Subway spokesperson make him into did it warp him?
Definitely not. The evil kink was embedded first. I cannot believe that there'd be any version where fame leads to that level of depravity.
I mean, leading right into Connor Lyons, our surf story.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even prep for this, but you fill us in if you've got it handy.
I mean, Connor Lyons, so it was like 5 months ago, 4 months ago. He is I looked him up because Derek wrote about this. So he's an Australian surf coach, but also a WSL surfer. And Derek would call him a WSL surfer. And I was like, is he really though? Or is he one of the guys who's done like one event of 1 star once? And I look, no, he's like 48 on the QS or something.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
which is not nothing. Uh, and so in any case, this Connor Lyons was busted for inappropriate contact with minors. He's a surf coach, would, tell parents, hey, I think he took kids to Fiji, all this kind of stuff. Uh, busted, uh, got let out on bail, where I don't know what goes on in Australia. They let him out on bail with strict conditions that he had no contact with anybody under the age of 16, couldn't coach anyone under the age of 17, whatever. He proceeded to run straight to his mother's house, delete all the child porn he had off whatever devices, got caught doing that, got put back in jail, obviously, cop to it all, a bunch more. I think it's at the end, it was 29 charges over 4 minors. And I do believe it was yesterday. He dismissed his lawyer and pled guilty to all charges.
Good,
Yep. So
good. I
I
mean,
think,
bad story, but good that he's pled guilty.
yeah, I'm glad that he didn't
S-
like try to diddy it.
No, exactly. So the most serious charge carries a 20-year maximum sentence.
Well, yeah, so I don't know if these things run concurrently or how things go in Australia, but yeah, he's looking at, I would imagine, at least a decade plus behind bars.
So to the Jared Fogle question, that's not something that you just like. If I got rich and was single and all of a sudden had access, women throwing themselves at me and that sort of thing, and access to whatever vice, I might, I would go hard and heavy into the things I'm already into, but I don't see it turning into um, criminal. Like that level of behavior is not only criminal, it's depraved. You know what I
It's
mean? Like
perverted. Yeah,
it's
it's
something.
profoundly wrong.
It's not just like a sexual proclivity. It's something that was miswired or due to trauma that you had when you were young that you're now trying to cover up some sort of a void or a hole or something, or fill it with something that can only be uh, deviant. Only the deviants can fill it up. And so that has to be already hardwired into you. It's not that you're well adjusted and you just need more of a kink. You don't need more
Yeah.
kink. And so you end up there. It's kink goes this way and then depravity and other things go that way. And it's somehow down there. So I don't think that it's just a reflection of Jared getting rich and famous.
Well, it's still too bad though that Jared wrecked it for all people who eat one meal at one restaurant and lose a bunch of weight. Nobody's ever going to be into that story again.
He really did. Well, no White Lotus spoilers because I have not watched the final episode yet with my wife. We're going to watch it tonight, but this would be a great time to talk about that unbelievable scene with Walton Goggins hearing Sam Rockwell reveal his own kink
Kink.
and exploration into the unknown. How crazy was that scene?
I mean, it was crazy and just how well acted for both of them, for both Walton and for Sam. I mean, both of that whole scene was just, it was television art in terms of writing, in terms of acting, in terms of lighting and staging, all of it.
It was engrossing.
Yeah.
It was absolutely engrossing. Every delivery of every line delivered from Rockwell, I was sucked further into, just like where is this
Yeah.
going? And then they cut to Walton, and Walton's face in
Yeah.
each cut was just like more and more like You're kidding, right? Like he was
A,
just like tripping.
a great bit of writing right there. I mean, there's a lot of those moments I feel through White Lotus, but that was it. Ooh,
Well, we were, oh, go ahead.
speaking of, real quick, I was right. It's going to be snow for the
They
Mike White.
revealed it?
They didn't, but Mike White went on record saying, "I think we've had I think the next one is not going to be so sunny. I think we've reached max saturation on waves crashing over rocks."
You did nail this. Good
Hmm.
job, man.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, 3 days ago, we were talking at lunch, and El Salvador and Bass was saying about that scene. He's like, it was good, but they just went too far, like he didn't have to give details of what he was doing. I'm like, no, I don't remember it being too far. I thought it was incredible. So I went back and watched that one scene again. It's freaking phenomenal.
I mean, and it is graphic, but it's not demeaning.
And no, I didn't think it was demeaning at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he goes in and the narrative is salacious. It's all
No.
like it's all about uh how messed up Sam Rockwell got from clearly whatever line of, hired gun work that he and Walton are in.
Well, you know what's hilarious though that I didn't remember from the first watch through was it all starts off because he's orders chamomile tea.
Yeah.
And Walton's like, "Oh, you don't drink anymore?" He's like, "Nah, things got pretty bad there." And
Uh,
that's how he goes into it. It was just incredible.
are you excited for the final episode?
Oh yeah.
Do you
Yeah, I
think it's
had to
gonna
text.
do you think it's gonna live up to your high hopes?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
Did you finish it?
I did.
Um, did you like it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I didn't think it's hard, right? When you get to the end of one of these shows, I feel very few uh live up. Very few shows that are so hyped and well written and all this deliver on the promise at the end, right? Where I feel that what True Detective with Matthew McConaughey really deliver at the end. You're just like, wow, right? Like start to finish. Where
Yeah,
there's not that same feeling here of just like, wow, but it's not disappointing.
good. Yeah, I had to text Lauren from El Salvador. I was like, you
Do
better
not watch.
not
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah.
And then also every time I open up Instagram, if I see anything that
Oh
shows
yeah,
a,
it's hard.
I just scroll right past.
It's
Like,
really hard.
yeah,
This one in particular. People love to raw. I mean, the news too. Like it'd be
yeah,
straight in the headline.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So we're gonna do that tonight. Okay, good. Glad we got to purge that information. Let's go to commercial break. We'll be back with Barrel or Not. Chaz, welcome back to the show.
Great.
We forgot to tell people at the beginning of the show to go watch Patreon today. We've got a new episode up on Patreon.
I'm excited for the Patreon. I continue to be excited, and I want people to be excited as I am. And I realize these things are slow burn, right? But get on the ground floor of the Patreon.
I don't think it's that slow of a burn. We're bringing the heat over on Patreon, getting juicy stuff that you would not get here.
I like the Patreon better than this, if you can even believe it.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
Cool. Join us on Patreon. The DJ Seaweed hosted our Spit Patreon this week and asked a burning question that everybody wanted to know, which was Scott and I had a fight on air like 8 or 10 years ago. And he was like, what happened? Tell us what was your guys' perspective, each of your perspectives on that, and how did it get resolved and all of that. And it is something that people have asked me over the years, but we've never discussed it publicly.
Was it
So
cathartic?
I was so over it, and Scott was so over it too. We didn't need the catharsis at this point. The catharsis was done, but it was, I think people do want to hear what happened, like they've been wondering that
Yeah.
because they ask me all the time. So
Great.
that's the kind of stuff you get over on Patreon. Pull back the curtain a little bit. And so today for you and I, we're going to discuss the what's going on with the surfboard, with the tariffs, and how that's going to affect the surf industry. And we've got some research that we've done. So we'll give you
Wetsuits hammered, boards hammered,
yeah,
getting into it.
find out how much it's going to cost you moving forward. But first, barrel or nah here today. This is also directly related to my El Salvador trip, pushing people into waves.
Uh, okay, are we not making any distinction between child, between older person, between disabled person, between differently abled person?
I was not going to because I've come up with an answer that needs no distinction, but I will say the only reason I brought this up was at the point. Again, it's a point break. There's one local heavy down there who has a property and he rents out a few rooms, and these basically surfers rent those rooms, and then he's like their coach. He takes them out in the lineup and kind of shows them where to go. But on this particular trip, he had a couple of guys who were total beginners. And so the local heavy took them out to the point, waited for good waves, and literally pushed them into waves so that they could get up in a stupid stance and go straight down the line.
I mean, no barrel. If you are able to paddle into a wave, there is no excuse for getting pushed into a wave. I will say no barrel. Unless
Okay.
you cannot, if you, for whatever reason, too young, too something that you cannot paddle in. But if you are physically, or should be, if you should be, I should say, if you by all rights, if you should be physically capable, no pushing.
So that seems obvious that it's egregious to do it at a point break. But I thought as we were discussing this on the property, I thought even beyond that, I'm like, you're not doing anybody any favors. Like you're shortcutting a lot of the learning. And so much of that learning informs step two, three, four, five, all the way through 10, all the way through 100. And so if you're subverting the most essential learning experience, you're undercutting that person's journey ultimately.
I mean, I 100% agree with you. Funny when the young daughter, like, obviously when she started surfing, maybe four, whatever, I'd push her in. She wanted me to stop pushing her in as soon as she could, physically start doing it, even if that meant she was going to get, a fraction of the waves per session that she would if I'm pushing her in. She wanted to paddle, and like she knew that it was cheating. She knew that you don't surf by getting pushed into a wave. You surf by, it's all part of it. You paddle in, you stand up, you ride.
My parents didn't surf. Nobody pushed me into waves when I was learning. What I did learn how to do was stand next to my board and time perfectly how to jump into the whitewash with the exact same amount of momentum as the whitewash has, and then get to my feet from there. And that learning how to kind of project yourself has stayed with me through all of it. I use it for body surfing still today, like, so it's not that their arms are too not wide enough to cover and so they need to be pushed. There's alternative ways to learn, all of which benefit the surfer. And I'm going to go a step further and say no soft tops. The soft
Yeah.
top's not doing you any favors either. Use a hard board and learn how to surf on the hard board. Take a couple of knocks, scrape up your knees, maybe get cut by the fin. All of it is good.
I completely agree that we have reached peak soft top, and it is time, again, I've said it before on the program, burn your soft top
Burn the soft top and do not push another human being into a wave.
unless they're differently abled.
Fair. That's the
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Barrel or non, number two, using a wax comb.
Barrel. Wax combs are a great big barrel. If you don't have a wax comb in your repertoire, uh, in your tools to live by, then I think that you're missing out. Like there comes a time in every board's life where the wax is clumped up too much and you just need a little combing.
Totally agree. I'm glad that you know this and said that because on this trip, it's like you don't need more. Like the wax is thick enough after 3 or 4 days. You do not need to do another layer of wax tomorrow morning. But I'm definitely not going to take the time to scrape it all off and start from new. But the comb is the perfect solution.
It buys you time, buys you more reps, and keeps the clumps down.
Everybody out there, basic information here. Go get a
Get a
wax
wax
comb.
comb. And the important thing with your wax comb, I've learned, uh, like most people, most surfers, wax combs would come into my life and they would go just as quickly as they came. So you never would actually have a wax comb. Wife set up kind of a zone where we have our wax outside. The wax comb is in there. There's a fin key in there. That stuff never travels from there. It stays there. And yeah, so more importantly, in order to use a wax comb, you have to keep a wax comb. So first step is find a place to keep your wax comb and don't move it from that place.
That sounds like a great idea. Or you could do what my wife does with lip balm and just keep them everywhere.
8,000. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We're both barrel. Final barrel or not? Getting a massage.
No barrel. I think we've been over this. I am a no barrel on massage for a male. There's no way
Uh,
to make it sound good. Even when I hear like LeBron James calling it treatment and things like this, I just think you're getting a massage, man. Look at all the massage shenanigans that have gone on in sport. I mean, a massage is just, I've not been convinced. The only time I did massage and thought I could see this going was when I was in Thailand, speaking of White Lotus. Then you would go into the temples and they would give you like a full-on Thai massage that is, use or for the dude who's sitting in lotus position all day, in the white lotus position all day. So they really like bend you and stuff where it feels more athletic and physical than it does comfortable.
yeah, I've been pro massage for a long time. I love a massage. I find it to be pleasurable and to a certain degree beneficial, relaxing, but less and less the older I get. So, like on this trip, using my body a lot, getting very sore, I got two massages and I don't think they really did that much good. And then a couple of evenings ago, we just went out and went swimming and body surfing. I got out feeling so loose after that.
Yeah.
It was like everything, like five times more adjustment and flexibility than the massage provided for me. And I've also gotten to the point with massages prior to that where it's kind of become a glorified back rub
Yeah.
and it feels good for the 1 hour. I love it for that 1 hour, but it doesn't have the lasting benefit that used to get out of it, maybe, or that I thought it should. If I do, let's say, a hot yoga class, that's a 1 hour thing, and I could feel the difference in my body for 2 days. Whereas the massage, it's expensive and there's no lasting benefit from it. And maybe I'm going to the wrong masseuse. I don't know. But I've just kind of come to the realization over the course of literally 2 decades of doing it that there's these other things that are way get you more of the benefit that you're supposed to get out of the massage, and then they're free.
I'm gonna say, and I don't mean to be overly gender specific here, but anything you're going to gift for the lady in your life is probably not great on you, right?
Hmm.
I think that, a nice perfume. I love a good cologne, right? But so I guess that's a bad example. Give me a good cologne. Uh
Flowers,
Flowers.
chocolates.
A dude buying your like going to buy yourself flowers. Probably not the best look. I guess I could see how that could be a good look. If you're
I can't see how that would be a good look.
like just getting a massage it's just too pampery. And there needs to be for the men out there, there's needs to be some level where you won't like you'll just say, no, I'm not going to pamper myself. I am not going to pamper myself.
I'm really like I'm really starting to think like I don't know if the next decade of my life includes massages anymore.
Cut them out. You'll probably enjoy. That's the thing too. Getting the kind of back rubby massage thing, like you lay down on the table and you think, oh, this feels good for a while, and then you start thinking, this feels good, and this is going to end pretty soon. And so you're just thinking mostly about the end for most of it, I feel, right? And then it
Kind of,
ends,
yeah.
and you get up and you feel like, well, that's over now because, as you said, there's nothing lasting from it. It's just the good little touchy feeling is finished.
I literally thought it was supposed to like loosen you up and benefit you for 48 hours, let's say. And when I look back at all the massages I have, twice did it ever do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think because everybody could become a masseuse all of a sudden, and look at society around you. Do people really want to be beat up and physically like Rolfing and all that, right? Have you ever been rolfed,
No.
that stuff hurts, right? It hurts bad. Like, and then you feel something after. I don't know if it's good, but you definitely feel something after. I
Mm.
think in our soft society, what most people identify as massage is the back rubby kind of thing with scented oils. Soft, everybody's super sensitive, and crybaby. Masseuses don't want to be branded as the one who, like, stinking my 12-year-old ballerina daughter using body sore always. She will not go get a massage because nobody digs deep enough into her because they see 12-year-old girl. I'm going to be real gentle. I feel that's the way masseuses feel about basically everyone because everyone, 90% of people are big babies.
Well, the craziest light bulb that I had this week was just that swim.
Yeah,
Like going and playing
it
in
was
the
so good.
shore break, kind of like body surfing a few, swimming around, flipping over, like, almost like you're in a
Weightless.
suspended state. Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
I stood up, walked out of the water, and I'm like, whoa, this is the
Yeah.
best I have felt all week. So get out there and swim, or maybe a swimming pool will do the same thing for you, even.
I think there's something real special about I think the way you're tossed around in the ocean, the
Yeah.
way you're getting like your body's getting moved.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. Let's close this out. We'll head over to Patreon. Listeners, thank you for waiting 4 or 5 extra days for last week's episode of The Grit. Chad Smith and I will be back here on Friday of this week as well. And then, of course, if you haven't gotten your fill, go get it over on the Patreon. All right, Chaz, until next week or until Patreon.
Keep working.